seems like my friend doesn't want me to continue with analyzing their game. So if you know somebody who would like to improve their rating over 1000, just drop me a nickname and I can analyze their games. I will send you like a brief message. So here I brought a slightly different game that I found on Lichess when I was doing one of my trainings. So I always look for some interesting positions. So here we have move d4, e3, d5, and bishop d3. So this, to me, Rick, this type of pawn structure looks to me like core. But the Lichess suggests this as queen's pawn game. And I kind of like this, that you know, I can play c4 later on, or maybe I can play b3 and c4 later on. So it's something like unorthodox. Black maybe try and strive for e5 response. Small knight f6, knight e2, bishop g4. This looks a bit inaccurate. I also need to say that this is white is 1930 and black is 1500. And white is, in this game they are playing 2-minute game rated in bullet in spring marathon on Lichess. So some of the moves will be slightly strange. So now comes what I think is the first big mistake, although Lichess doesn't think so. I believe, giving the pair of bishops so easily. And this is one of the problems that I have with the systems with c6 and d5, for example. The bishop usually does not have so much life inside the pawn chain. So on c8 it would not be all that great. So it tries to live outside the pawn chain, but there's oftentimes also not enough space for the bishop to live. So that's why black is deciding to trade the bishop. I personally would like to have the bishop here, but sometimes, move like f4, f5 can trap the bishop. So I do understand why black has done this, but I generally don't agree with this approach of trading on bishops early. That can give white quite considerable advantage. Especially this bishop will be beautiful on usually when it attacks the king if black decides to go for short castle. So knight d2 is being played, and this little system seems to be really nice for white. White can strive for both of these pawn pushes. And black at the moment, because they just spend the time to get rid of the bishop. And now they are locking the positions. Black is also a little bit behind in development. Bishop e7 is being played, knight row f3. The knight's most likely going to go to e5. I wouldn't spend too much time, deliberating about these moves. Now, white wants to play a bishop here. And it didn't occur to me when I first selected this game that basically by placing the bishop here, the white will maybe support moves like knight e5, but moreover it sort of destroys the black's ideas of playing c5 now that he castled short, because you will be opening that bishop and the bishop will be very dangerous on this diagonal. So even though the bishop at the moment doesn't do much, eventually, if black decides to have some active counterplay, they will need to help that bishop back into the game. So that's one of the things that I kind of like about this bishop on b2, that it's giving, and actually black is trying to open the c-file. So now that's exactly what they do. And now after the trade, white is challenging the rook on the c-file. Again, even the computer doesn't want to criticize any of those moves, but so I wouldn't myself. Now when we take here, we take with the knight, and the situation that I was talking about is already happening. Now we have both of these bishops nicely looking at the king, and this could lead to some of the quick defeats for black. So the knight is attacking both the pawn and the bishop, so white does the good thing and does not allow the bishop trade. So just simply by retreating, you keep... and this is what I like about bishops over knights. It takes the knight, for example, for this knight to get here, it took 1, 2, 3 moves to get all the way here. And it's basically from here to get here takes 3 moves. So it would be, for example, like this. However, for the bishop, this is not a problem. You can have it tucked in on the first rank, but it will still be X-raying the whole board and can reach all the way to the other side. So this is one of the reasons why I would always like to play opening, which helps me to keep preserve both of these bishops. So black plays knight f6, and white finds kind of dangerous but really nice plan. And now that the light square bishop is not anymore on the board for black, white can in some cases weaken the light squares around the king, and in this position is actually perfect for it. Because as I said, both of the bishops are aiming at the king. The knight is in a nice active square. The rook is developed properly. The queen is developed properly. But black has only one active piece that doesn't do so much here. The other active piece is going to be kicked around with a pawn. And then we have a queen and a bishop that are developed, but the bishop doesn't do so much, nor does the queen. And the rook still needs to be developed. So white is definitely better, and I think that's when you can play a move like g4. Black plays a6, and that's a move that basically doesn't do much. Maybe, you know, black was afraid of some move like knight b6, knight c7, or rook c7, some infiltration with the rook on the 7th rank. But this is not white's plan. White's plan is simply to attack the black's king. So here, white plays g5 and black plays knight to d5. And here, white plays queen h5. And apparently it's a slight mistake because white has much stronger move here. What I had to do for a moment is to first disable the annotations on the right side. So now if you can pause the video and try and find a better move, then there was the queen h5 played. White has already a very strong move that will basically win them the game. So pause the video and think about what would be the best move for white here. Okay, so if you had a little thought about this, there is like a absolutely fantastic move to be played, which is knight takes to e6. Now, firstly, if black will take on e6, then white has another beautiful move. Bishop takes h7. Now, if the king spots the danger and tries to run, then you have simply moved queen h5. So just show it. And the king has no longer anywhere to escape, as these squares are all controlled, so the only move is g6, and queen g6 would be a checkmate. So black has no choice, but they can try and play king h8, but after that you just simply go queen h5, and the next move will be bishop here, queen h7, checkmate. If you try and defend with knight f6, we just capture with the pawn, and the threat still gets to live. So there is not much black can do there. If black accepts the bishop, then you play queen to h5, king g8. The king has to go back, and now you just simply play g6. The next move should be a close to checkmate. So if black defends with this, to the h7 square, we can just simply take. So now the power of this bishop is being shown as well. If we try and create like a space for the king to run away, there is this a simple checkmate with here, because the pawn is controlling, and there is nothing that can be put between the king and the queen. The queen is safe on h8. So that would be another checkmate. So this is something that is very simple, and black has missed. And if we take on e6, and we know now that we cannot capture the knights, then if we don't protect against any of these ideas, then we will be losing the queen. So, and if we move, for example, here, even if you didn't see some tactical shot to win the game, which is again bishop h7, I think here, if you take, then it's gonna be a quick death probably, because now you have queen h8 and it's unstoppable. The knight is protecting here. If you don't take, then I believe queen h5 will be just as lethal as it was previously. So bishop g6 would be winning. So even if you didn't see this tactical solution and the queen plays here, you can always capture here and you have already enough material to win the game. White plays queen h5, so when black is attacking the queen, so the queen has to move here. And now black plays bishop takes g5. And now this is the position actually that I discovered this game in the first place. So try and pause the video again and think about how can white punish black here. Okay, I hope you have found the beautiful move knight to f5. Now knight f5 opens up a couple of threats. So white can play queen to g7 checkmate. So if you would capture the queen, knight to h6 would be a checkmate. Because if you have noticed, this bishop is taking everything and knight is quite safe here. So the only way to protect against queen g7 checkmate will be to play this move. So now you will take bishop takes f6. Again, renewing the checkmate ideas multiple times over, and now when you take queen takes f6, I hope you have seen the whole solution until this point, because you, in order to be able to play knight f5 and to see everything all the way to the end, you needed to spot that this rook is also amazingly placed, and that now the knight is controlling both of these squares, which is very important. And then you can just simply treat this as a weak 8th rank of black, and black doesn't have enough protection. So you will find this amazing queen sacrifice as well. If the king takes back, you will play rook c8 check. Now queen d8, rook takes d8. So this is how white could have won their game, because the king has nowhere to escape because of our knight, and the rook is delivering the bad news to the king. However, and I'll just run you through this quickly, white doesn't find the correct moves, and then they play, in the spirit of a 2-minute game. Black manages to win the queen here with the simple fork. So again, even if you took here with the bishop, you would already be losing as such, because you cannot take back. If you do, you're gonna lose the queen again. If you don't, you will be down a piece, and that's good enough for black to win the game. So here we'll just look. Black is much weaker player, but they are able to win the game. Now, from what I can see, then maybe black can play queen e5 to get away from the pin. If f4 is played, then we can give a check, and then we are capturing another free material here. So let's see what black does here. They do exactly that, winning the bishop. And now white resigns. So one thing that I wanted, and the main reason I was showing this game, first of all, I like the opening, it's like a bit untraditional, but it had lots of poise, and black found early in the opening struggle to place this bishop somewhat meaningfully. So they decide to trade it, which I think is one of the mistakes and which allows us this attack late on. When you see white position, white has absolutely no problems. They can pursue both of these pawn pushes, develop their rooks, and it's more or less black that will be in trouble every time the game opens thanks to those wonderful bishops. So we had this open game. And now, if you remember, after g4 is a really beautiful sequence, as black has really no counterplay to do here. So if you see they didn't know what to do basically, so they play move like this. Normally, I would probably try and hop on to those light squares, try and develop the queen and then the rook. So always think of moves that will develop your pieces. But here you could see already this crushing knight takes e6, remember, and then again after bishop g5, this crushing idea of knight f5. Now everything opens towards the king. And there is this also beautiful first sacrifice of the queen that you cannot capture really back for the checkmate. So this is one of the checkmate motives that it's really good to remember. And if queen f6 is one of the moves that I was looking at, but this would be more accurate as you don't want to lose a material, but then you lose the game with this second beautiful sacrifice of your queen. Now black has no choice but to sacrifice or resign, and this would be the end of the game. So I hope you enjoyed this little game, and if you know someone who's like under 1,000 on chess.com or Lichess, I can always do some like a little recap of their game, and hopefully you can learn from it. So I'm gonna see you in the next video.